Hey there, folks. Welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art, and culture. And today we're going to be talking about the new album from Vienna Teng, titled Aims. Now, here's a fun thing about my job as a music critic here. People send me music they want to cover and talk about all the time, which unfortunately means I'm almost always slammed with more material than I'll ever be able to cover on this show. But believe it or not, I do try to listen to nearly all of it, at least as much as I can, and I'm always on the lookout for material that deserves more mainstream attention, or at least attention from record labels hungry for new talent. But here's one of the unfortunate things about working in the era of the internet. Thanks to iTunes and the relative ease of distribution when it comes to music, thanks to sites like Bandcamp, it exposes a ton of great talent that might otherwise get ignored, but at the same time, it also floods the market. It makes finding true superstars that can make companies a lot of money, it makes that a real challenge. Separating the wheat from the chaff takes time, and when I still have a full-time job and have to cover hundreds of professional acts already, it makes hunting through the independent and underground scenes, which are already pretty dense as it is, incredibly difficult. And as much vitriol as I like to spew at the record industry, and let's face it, they deserve most of it, they simply have more resources in sweeping through the talent pool and finding marketable stars than I do. But even on that note, I'm absolutely floored that none of the major labels have swooped in to grab up Taiwanese-American singer-songwriter Vienna Teng yet, because I gotta be honest, it's been a long time since I've seen an act as professional and talented as this in the independent scene. She's been around for over 10 years on the fringes of the indie folk and pop scenes, and has always gotten rave reviews for her albums when they've even bothered to pay attention to them. But maybe it was an issue of marketing or promotion from her label, or not having that one killer single, but she seemed to fly completely under the radar, and that really did bug me. So she did what most indie acts have done with some success in 2013. She founded her own record label to release her newest album, Aims, and was pushed forward through Bandcamp and iTunes, all the while finishing up grad school. So, from a recommendation from one of my fans, I took a listen to that album. How was it? Well, it's awesome. Make no mistake, it's a goddamn crime that Vienna Teng is not receiving airplay, because if I'm looking for an adult alternative indie pop album that could absolutely rule the airwaves if properly pitched and marketed, it would be this album. Now, let me stress that this album isn't perfect by any stretch of the mind, but considering it's an independent release, it manages to balance fantastic melodies with songs containing some real intellectual heft. It's damn great all the same. It comes highly recommended from me. So, okay, let's start with Vienna Teng herself. And here's where I have to run to the first element that really sold me on her right out of the gate. Her voice. She reminds me a lot of an adult alternative singer from the mid to late 90s, with her rich, smooth timbre, her measured, practiced delivery, and her incredible range. You can tell that she's had some training and professional experience, but she manages the key element that makes her really stand out. She knows how to balance her scope vocally. She can belt and project, to be sure, and she'd probably do very well performing live, but she's much more effective at conveying the little emotional moments in the way that still manages to really resonate, like a blend of Dido and Celine Dion, if you will. In fact, you know what? I'll come out and say it. This is what Celine Dion's newest album should have sounded like. But you know what? The more I think about it, Vienna Teng's closest contemporary probably isn't Celine Dion at all, but the girl group Haim, and this definitely comes through in the instrumentation and production. But while Haim is a lot more bombastic and drawing a lot more cues from Fleetwood Mac and Phil Collins, with a lot more heavier guitar and percussion, Vienna Teng is sticking much closer to chamber pop, with a much richer well of classical instrumentation to draw upon, only dipping into electronica elements and backbeats that have presence but are never really obtrusive or in your face or grating. The percussion is probably the area where the electronica does most of the heavy lifting, but the balance of the mix never lets it overwhelm or eclipse the vocals and the melody line, which is the real strength of this record. Now, the one place I do think it becomes a little bit obtrusive is on Never Look Away, which tends to go for a more conventional dance jam, and it's slightly more conventional in its beat selection. And to me, it didn't really stand out against most of the stuff I had already heard this year, because the melody line doesn't have the same presence. And honestly, that's where this album makes or breaks. The best songs in this album are where they have the killer hooks or great melodies, and when they actually manage to take prominence, either driven by Vienna's excellent choral arrangements or some fantastic keyboard lines. Or probably the worst things I can say about this album from an instrumental or production standpoint is that a few of the hooks, they didn't really stick with me, and on a production standpoint, that some of the vocal production can be a little shaky at points. Just some moments where it doesn't quite sound as smooth or organic as it should. But the place where Haim really lost me, as you might have seen in my review, was in the lyrics and the themes. And you know what? Here, Vienna Teng blows them out of the goddamn park. Not only is she a great poet with a natural gift for meter, her songs are sharp and witty enough to come together as a striking and emotionally evocative whole that managed to really get to me. On a thematic level, this album speaks very heavily about traveling and moving on, pursuing one's dreams and encouraging others to do the same in a modern world that seems to have a certain degree of contempt for the bright-eyed optimism that Vienna Teng brings to the table, which is very much in contrast with her previous material, which tended to towards more of a melancholic mood. This album isn't afraid to soar, though, on adrenaline and pure wonder, which makes songs like Level Up, Copenhagen Let Me Go, and my personal favorite, Land Sailor, brush epic territory effortlessly, and it's beautiful. What really knocks this album up a few notches is the fact that Vienna Teng is very smart enough to frame her material with a lot of nuance. In the 99 might seem to target sellout businessmen, but Vienna frames them with a hint of sympathy and shows them how most of them aren't really happy where they are, and the stuff they actually can be decent people along the way. Hymn of Axiom takes a gorgeous a cappella tune in contrast and marries it with lyrics describing how so many will just surrender to corporate structures simply because they're there when they provide them with all the convenience and simple comfort that they want. Indeed, you know what? If this album had a focus on those who follow their dreams in some variety, it also does plenty to show that how such people can really hurt their families, their friends, and their loved ones with their single-minded pursuit of their dreams. Songs like Oh Mama No, Flyweight Love, and The Breaking Light really do press on this theme, and Never Look Away goes a step further and touches on the loneliness that said goal seekers often feel, and their desire for companionship, even if it is rather fleeting. And what works about all this is the constant sense of empathy. Vienna never casts anyone as an enemy or a friend, instead of touching on the warring desires for comfort in following one's dreams, and framing both as neither black or white. It's an album steeped in mature, intelligent songwriting, and yet can still recapture that exuberant pop sensibility to draw in more emotions than pure melancholia. So yeah, in other words, this album is fantastic, and it's a definite favorite of mine over the past few weeks. On lyrics alone, I would recommend this album, but the fact that Vienna Teng has such great hooks on aims and such a beautifully compelling feel for melody makes it even stronger. Now, it's a very gripping album, but it does require you to be fully engaged to appreciate it, and yet even with that, I can't fully say that all the melodies really did click with me, and I definitely think that the first half of the album is a lot stronger than the second. The second just gets a little bit tired and a little slower, didn't quite resonate with me in the same way. The last track, Goodnight New York in particular, it didn't feel like an adequate album closer, didn't feel like a good summation of themes, and that lack of a coherent, cohesive thesis does mean that I'm only going to be giving Vienna Teng's aims an 8 out of 10. But you know what? God damn it, if it doesn't earn that score in a big way, and it's got a definite recommendation along with it, so you guys all need to go check out this album yesterday. So I'm going to end with this. You know, Lena Dunham, you want to highlight women with phenomenal talent for your musical scores for your show on HBO titled Girls. A good show, I might add, but one that is both nuanced and relevant to people my generation today. You're looking for an artist like that? You need to be listening to Vienna Teng, because this woman, she definitely deserves the spotlight. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you'd like to like and subscribe, I'd be more than grateful. If there's anything I might be able to do to improve my presentation, or if there's any other albums you'd like me to cover that came out this year before the end of the year, I'd be more than happy to take a listen. Just make sure to check through my back catalog, see if I haven't already covered them. So until then, see you next time.